then it's gonna make us go live.
I want to make a post about that.
Yeah.
But I gotta.
Hype.
Hmm.
All right, so we're
Let me
streaming
put
to
my camera on.
restream.
The second we're live, I gotta have this post thing going. Where the stupid group.
Uh-oh, someone left.
It's
Hot as- It's cold as
Oh no.
Is it?
Oh,
No,
no,
I
you
like
can
it
go.
out here. It's got jackets and shit too. Look at it.
I'm getting mad feedback right now because I
Nice.
can't hit the. There we go. Dope. Welcome everybody. Welcome to Thursday Hangouts. Ooh, nice. My computer's heavily lagging.
Whoa.
All right, stream end.
Thank you everybody for checking out Thursday Hangouts.
Uber
The
says
end.
hi, Alex. Wait. Hi, Max.
Dang it, Uber.
God damn it, Maxwell. I love that man.
It was great. Yeah.
What up, Keith?
What up, guys?
hit me.
I could see you, and then you went away.
Then my Skype is being so weird right now. I can't see any of you guys.
Did you update?
No, you got ran away.
Should I update with that?
Yeah, try updating. It's a really chill show today, so let's just take as long as possible.
All right. I will be right back.
Yes, likewise. I have an update I must update. Be right back.
Oh, we're alive.
Jesus.
Welcome.
Okay, here we go.
What up, Uber?
Let's just do nothing.
That's a good idea. I got some more food to eat.
Brilliant plan.
Oh, and I gotta. Like, are we live already? I want to make a super post.
We're live.
All right.
We are so live right now.
That's like so live.
Live and late.
Oh, so dude. Oh, we're actually live. What the fuck?
Live,
Damn it. I think that's a joke. I thought at least. Like,
No.
why did you do this to me?
Uber, we're talking about
Can't believe you've done this.
sample packs.
I can't believe you've done this.
So we're gonna oh gosh. Skype is being dumb today. It's gonna be one of those days. All right, everybody's drinking beer. We're talking about samples. You know, so what's cool about this topic is that I'm sure everybody feels like they have the answer, and I bet there's a lot of different answers, but it seems to be a little polarizing of an issue. I don't know.
When you say samples, are we talking about sample packs or sampling in general?
Like samples at a grocery store.
Yeah, like when you taste shit. Like everything you eat.
You're in.
If
You're
you
in
didn't
samples.
Cheese from the market.
Yeah.
It's also about examples, like, you know, when you explain things.
Donkey Dude 1998. Yes, your username is a little dumb. I'm sorry. You should make a new account. It's okay.
Donkey dude.
Maybe you should make a new account.
It's a porn star.
Donkey dude.
But no, we're
That
talking about
sounds like
we're talking about samples in general for using samples in music. So that's both like a snare drum and it's like a 20-second part of a rap acapella too. So
Beautiful.
So, you know, when we talk about this, we're gonna have to define, you know, certain types of samples and what could make something cool and what could make something not cool to use.
Okay.
Do we
Well,
have
I
one
think that's-
viewer?
Because I definitely have a few tunes where literally the entire intro is someone else's song, like Europe's Final Countdown or Survivor's. But that's literally their entire song, the karaoke version, and then I put a rhythm beat over it. So
It's
yeah.
amazing.
Let's talk about sampling. Let's do that. I'm so down to talk about sampling.
Yeah, all right. Let's just start. And then Keith, at some point, will join. I'm gonna try to add him one more time. Shout out to you guys for tuning in. Shout out to everybody for tuning in. Shout out to our guests for coming out and making this cool.
This is awesome.
I've always been under the impression, so like, all right, let's just define samples just to make sure everybody knows. So when we say sampling, we mean taking recorded audio, either recording audio of someone else, you can call that sampling, or usually when we say using samples, it's using audio that somebody else made or recorded in our music. You're putting it into our recording and then putting it out. So that's sampling. So that can be like, imagine every music producer who works on a computer who wants to use an organic drum sample needs to have the sound of an organic drum sample. So somebody had to go with a microphone, record it, make that sample, and then give it to the music producer so that they could use it in their track. So that's what we're talking about here. And sampling in electronic music is absolutely huge just because of the nature of it. I would say, you know, I'm sure if you use a VST and you make all of your sounds on a VST, like from oscillators, that's not really sampling, you know, I guess you could say. But Seriph, you look confused. Are you okay? You with me?
I've just got the best screenshot of all of us.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. That's a sample.
Yes. So hopefully Antix will join us. He made, I forget how many. He made a bunch of trap sample packs back in the day, right? I think at least 2. And then we got your name, Cryate. Is that how you say it?
What do I do? What do I like? Yeah, exactly. He got it.
Cryate.
He got it.
Cryate?
Great.
Cryate.
Why are you even
Like hi-hat, only it's really sad. It's a cry hat.
But Cryate.
It's emotional percussion.
It's like when you put eating tears.
Yo, shouts Code Pandorum. Hey, yo, real quick, guys. Shouts Code Pandorum. I just heard that one tune. What is it called? Cold Blood or something that you and Mastodon did. Hamish just sent me that, and I literally cried.
Big tune.
Never heard of it.
Shout out to
Never heard
Copa.
of it.
Where's Copa?
Is he
Why
new?
am I-
That is
Big up.
There is a sample. If we're talking about samples, that's some
Right.
samples. Big up.
Who's Co-Pandorum? Is he new?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, he's new. He's like,
He's here. He's live. God is among us. Blood pressure. There it
God's
is.
among us. Yes.
Blood pressure.
That's a big one, dude.
And immediately
Yeah, big up.
everybody in Skype types to him and just like, hey, I need that track. Called out.
Stops me, fam.
Like, second, like his info was like,
Yeah, there's gonna be a new request stub on Clubland now.
Jesus.
You
Oh,
can
God,
request
TV
songs on there.
Wait, so Clubland's still around? Sidebar?
Yeah, yes, it is. Of course, it's still around.
Probably. It'll never die.
I heard it's still around. I like when it just started, I was on there, and that's where I got all my Dr. P tunes. I was like, yeah.
Badman VIP at 128 kilobytes per second.
Mix rip.
Yeah, get rid of the line and
All right, we're getting distracted already. What I wanted to say was, Antix,
Samples.
how many sample packs have you made? You made like 1 or 2, right? Or 3 or 4 or 5?
I've made officially one
Oh.
Made millions.
under my name. Yeah, I've made one. But
Ooh.
I've made other ones not under my name.
Cool.
hmm
So that is, for the audience, that is Keith's background there for sampling. Cryate, is that what we decided?
Cry.
Cryate?
cry head, like it's a very
Cry
sad
head.
head.
Cryate.
Cry head.
Is it when you eat food and then you cry? Cry.
No, it's like when you eat tears. Like you
cry.
gotta be eating tears. You know when you're out of salt and then you're like very sad and then you cry into your beverage
yeah.
and then it's salty again.
Yeah.
then
That's
you
like when you're
drink.
eating ice
That's cry
cream.
head.
You're like
Cry.
depressed.
Okay. Well, okay, so explain what you do with sample packs. So you've made some sounds. You're a music artist as all of us are. But then you work with Antidote Audio, correct?
That's right.
And that is a sample pack label, you could say.
That's type of like company label kind of. Oh, my copy maker is making sounds. It's no fire around here. Yeah, it's a sample pack
Smoke
company.
alarm.
we're basically doing a lot of free packs, like artist based. Like we do packs with artists that can grow through publishing pack through us for free. It's like, I don't know how many people do it these days. Yeah, we're selling sample packs, and we've got like 2 for sale, and the third one is coming like pretty shortly, whatever.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So that's his background. So we've got some people who have sold and created sample packs before, which is really cool to kind of help us talk about this. So you could say those two are at least not in the you must never use samples camp. Or else they're really hypocritical.
Wow.
So let's
Pretty much.
I wonder how generic we can make this. So like, when is it not okay to use a sample
On a base.
That's a good question.
on a bass?
can I
So
say-
Oh, that's hard to say. Oh,
it's multifaceted for sure, but whoever wants
Yeah.
to dive in.
Well,
all right. So
okay.
okay, no,
Yeah, go ahead.
okay, that no. You go first.
Oh, okay. Well, I
Yeah.
just real quick was thinking about MC. Think about like a song like what was it? Can't Touch This, MC Hammer. That's literally just what was his fucking name? Rick James. That's Rick James' song with just some rapping on it. You could call
Mhm.
that an amazing tune for what it was worth or what it's not. But there are people right there that will argue with you that is literally just taking Rick James' song and spitting 8 bars, like a verse over it. My music hits me so hard. It's like the rapping game like that can be defined in any way of like when it's good or bad. Like I think in some cases like that where there's literally not even a beat over it. Like nowadays you have people using samples and they'll go ahead and like loop the 8 bars of the tune they want, throw that entire beat over it. But it's like even in sometimes where I feel like it may even not be okay, where it's just like you've literally taken that entire tune and that's it. It doesn't lead towards anything. Like I mean, I don't know. Like again, not to drag this on too much, but like me and Yax have 2 tunes where the entire intro is Europe song, Final Countdown, and the other one is Survivor, I the Tiger. Like there are a lot of times that's literally me playing off that entire tune. Like that is what the whole buildup is around. Thank you, but it's like the whole thing is based around that, and like that right there is arguable enough exactly with what I said. So that I think what happens when you say if something's good or bad is like when you get into that category where it's like such like a huge like there's the sample, there's like not any covering, it's like here it is, that's where it can be in the good or bad. So I don't know if I could say if it's yes or no, but
To go along with him, though, I think like I don't want to say everyone, but like 90% of producers when they start out, you're gonna use samples. Like either you don't know what you're doing, or you're gonna go on the internet looking up tutorials, and the first thing they'll teach you is you put your drum sample in this thing.
Mhm.
So you're immediately using samples when you start, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like I still use drum samples. I'm sure a lot of producers still
other
do.
people's that aren't even ours.
Yeah. And then like anything that like fuels the creative process or like gets you going into like creating something yourself is already a good thing.
It's content to base other off content because we're all inspired by each other, whether we're conscious of it or not.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
The
like
most
content.
brutal quote that's kind of like relatable to this is art is theft. Like whether or not you're doing it, you're going to copy someone somehow. And that's like what's going to drive you to become better and start creating something more original.
Definitely. I want to get into SubOxyde. You were saying bass sounds.
I think that
Yeah, I
if you're
wanted
producing
to
bass.
jump in
Oh, sure, yeah, go ahead, man.
on that kind of like when you say bass sounds, it's like a little for example, I know that Copendorum, who's in the thing, what's it called, in the chat. The chat.
Sounds like
The
Fucking
cry
hell.
chat.
Damn it. He's like he tends to do some basses at least with like resampled noises that are like absolutely far away from basses. Maybe a water drop or shit like that, and then he's putting it in a granulator and doing the craziest shit. But that's basically sampled. So, and I feel like his basses are so far from generic that it's not like he uses samples on his basses, So
Definitely. We're hitting a lot of points that I'm writing down.
But yeah, I feel like what I absolutely agree is like when you have a song and then have a drop, and like you feel like, oh, I don't know what I want to do for the job, and then you just buy a sample pack and throw everything in and be like, oh, then now it's done. That's not so cool. But if you're looking for a certain sound, I mean, I think it's fine to use it, and it buys you time. It's like the same with drums. Like, if it takes you long to make a drum, I think it's all right if you take a sample and just put it in and be like, oh yeah, I just like saved myself 2 hours or whatever, or an hour.
I don't think drums are too bad. So, like, if you take them from a Vengeance pack, like, how long is the drum? Like a kick and a snare, it's like a second, isn't it? But if you're sampling a whole song, or I don't know, drums are so short, aren't they, that it's not really sampling in a way. I don't think.
Well, bass sounds is short as well.
Yeah.
So.
Empirically speaking, like a lot of people are sampling, but if we break it down, like
It's presentation.
it's not just like, did they sample a kick or did they sample like a loop of a tune with every element of that track in the loop? You know, there's clearly a difference there, but both are sampling. It's just defining the kind of sampling that you're doing, I guess.
Well, it's definitely a spectrum, and I think the spectrum also is different for different genres specifically, and that's not necessarily what's good or bad. It's what's considered, what's considered, you know, not cool. So say you're like ripping, say I don't know, you're taking everything from like total samples or cymatics or something like that, and you have literally just taken the little clips of basses, arrange them, you know, in your way, but, you know, absolutely nothing done. No granulators, like you were saying, no, like over the top, because that's still in a sense resampling with some sort of, you know, artistic flair, which is, you know, on the more okay end of the spectrum of sampling. But still, some people would be like, you know, but you know, that's a gray area. But you know, if you're just, you know, copy pasting, putting pieces together to a puzzle, like that's it, then I in my opinion, that's bad news.
I think that's stealing if you're doing that, because you're literally just rearranging someone else's sounds.
Right, but there'll still be people that argue that you know, they arranged it and therefore it's original to that. But that's in my opinion, and I'm sure all your guys' opinions, is stretching it a lot.
Yeah, you know, because I wanted to jump in on that. I was saying there is a total gray area in that, especially with what we do with computers and how life has become so shortcut friendly as we've gone on. Like, okay, what I was saying before about my samples, even though I'm using so much of those tunes, and even like I made that point about MC Hammer, in the end, I'm almost more or less paying homage to samples like that. When I hear people do that, I feel like they're paying homage and respect to it and giving it either a new light, but in the end, some type of respect. See, now when you go into an area now where you're actually selling someone's music as if it were a band, like here's the studio guitars, everything is tuned the exact way, you paid $500, go. Here we go, and here's the guys it's already written out, you know? So it's almost kind of like that if you think of it in some sort of spectrum where it's like, oh, but you're just producers. It's like, you have to think about it like a band. Like, that's literally taking all the time and effort you put to kind of make that sound of it. Here you go, walk in and use it. You know, it's not about how good it comes out. I think that's the gray area right there, where it's like it's actually selling. I'm going
to agree with you on that. I feel like it's bad if you sample something and the person who did like the original sounds or song doesn't get any credit, and then your song blows up and you get all the credit for it. Whereas if like you sampled Eye of the Tiger, everyone knows that's not your song, so you've sampled it, which is fine. Like you're saying, you're paying homage to the tune, and everyone knows that. But if you sampled that whole song right after it come out and nobody knew who the original was, then I think that's bad. But if you're doing it in the way you're doing it, I don't see a problem.
But then
with that.
My follow-up question to that is, how did you get the samples so early?
What do you mean?
Like,
what do you mean?
To go along with what Mel's saying, let's say, hypothetically, Eye of the Tiger just came out, right? So nobody knows who it is or what that tune is necessarily.
Like as if it were a new rock tune.
Yeah, just hypothetically, to make it even simpler. Somebody makes a dubstep tune, right? A rhythm tune. New artist, nobody knows the name of the tune, and then somebody gets a hold of those samples and makes a remix or something and releases it as something else. Like, that's clearly wrong. But my immediate question is, how did they get a hold of the samples for this tune that was just made that even gave them the opportunity to make something sounding similar or whatever?
I feel like this happens. You get a smaller, I mean, it's also like complete paranoia, but like you get a smaller producer who's like, you know, I look up to all these big producers. I'm going to send them all my tune before I give it out for free on SoundCloud. These producers have had it for months. This can even happen on accident. And I've seen that happen where it's like, smaller producer made this cool idea, bigger producers playing it out for months, bigger producers writing something that will end up sounding similar to that song. They're inspired by that kid, you know? But that's the only way I could see that happening if you want to, like, play it out somehow.
That does happen for sure.
So that
I wanted to add, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. The earlier on we were talking about how, like, I think Keith brought it up, how it, you know, it's kind of different in different genres. Like, I'm definitely speaking from a dubstep perspective because that's what I have more experience in. And I think within dubstep, at least, like a variation on a theme is cool. Like, people like that, you know. And him and Yak's tune, Eye of the Tiger, is a perfect example. Like, clearly that's an older tune, but like the fact that it's being used in a new way, like a new variant on that theme, makes it interesting and exciting and relevant. And I don't know, like, you can't really apply that too much with necessarily bass samples or like synth stabs that you use for a drop.
Look at it, to add really fast, also look at what happens when it's a successful matter where you've done it, and even if you have, like, okay, there's no way I could have contacted Survivor or Europe, you know. So those songs are going for free. Any money I make in the end will obviously be off of DJing prior to something like that, whatever, you know. But like, there are people who, you know, what was it? Ice Baby, Vanilla Ice, Queen. Didn't he get in trouble for that or something?
He did, yeah.
He totally did. And like, look what happens in the end with a lot of these people. It's like, and when any money comes into that, it's all when money falls in. I swear, like the cymatics thing, there's trouble because there's money. Had he been giving it out for free, you know, and these little tiny things here and there, stuff like that, like, not this empire or monopoly, more or less, off here is other people's soul and art, you know, here's how we kind of imitate it, you know. That's how I felt. I have no absolute hate towards that guy. Make your hustle, but like, yeah, I feel like it's kind of like here's a quick way to become quote unquote famous, and here's these.
We're getting dangerously close to the arguing topic.
The problem is with stuff like that, though. Say you're cymatics and you copy all of Getter's project files and you start selling them. Even if they were selling them for free, I still think that's seriously not cool. Just because it's like you're literally like sitting down saying, I'm going to copy this dude as close as possible, and then I'm going to let everyone else have this. It's just like, it's cheapening the product completely. Like, why would you even do that? Why not make something original? Because, you know, they want Getter's name and they're going to piggyback on his name because they'll sell more. And that's seriously not cool. You're taking someone else's fame and trying to fucking piggyback on it. That's in any industry, that's really frowned upon. And even if they're releasing it for free, that would be bad. But they are making money off of it. So
yeah, and I think that's where the real heat's coming from, is the money that's coming in. You know, because it's like that's what, like, in the end, I feel.
Yeah, that's his intellectual property. Still, they copied it completely, like, as much as they could.
That's how they get away with it, because they're recreating it. They're not stealing it. They're stealing his style, recreating his sounds, but they're not actually physically like stealing his sounds. They're just recreating it. That's the loophole. That's how they're getting away with it. But it's a pretty shitty thing to do, because you're taking away from that artist and making money off it. So
if I'd have, like, I don't know, like 20 years ago, I'd like remade Deep Purple's like Smoke on the Water, just replayed it on guitar and on drums and re-sung it or whatever, and then I sold it. Like, isn't it a composition?
Yeah, it's
like
IP.
you can't like, you of course cannot not make the samples exactly like him. So like recreating the samples and selling them, that might be still fine on the recreation aspect, but recreating the composition itself, like the melodies and whatever, that's like a little. I don't feel like that's where you should get away with.
And with a record label,
if you want to sample something and get away with it, like, say you want to sample something and then you don't want to sample the actual original, you can just find a cover on YouTube and then you can just use that cover, because it's not actually the original, so you can get away with it that way. There's so many weird things.
The only thing you can get away, I know this just from going to school for this stuff. The only way that you can get away with that is if it's a parody. Otherwise, it's considered IP, and that's a gray area too. Some courts might argue that you know, the recreation was an homage or a parody of sorts. But once you start selling it, that you are using their intellectual property for gain and trying to monetize on it, and that's illegal if it's copyrighted. So
Yeah.
there's a, and that in the same way that like I can't just go out and so say like Jim Vallance wrote Heaven by Bryan Adams, right? You know, DJ Sammy's version of Heaven is like a really old rave tune. But everyone's heard it. They had to pay a certain percent of royalties to Jim Vallance, the writer of that song, because he wrote that song for Bryan Adams. Even then, Bryan Adams performed it first. So he gets royalties from that, and he also gets royalties from every other version of Heaven out there. And that's how it should work. If someone were selling his project file, his literal like Pro Tools like 1 or like whatever project file of Heaven, that's arguably worse. Like and they recreated it and they did it. I'd say that's arguably worse. If you're covering someone, doesn't sound anything like it. But if you're specifically trying to sound exactly like it, and then even making that more available to cover and recreate and to you know abuse more that IP, then that's even worse, I'd say.
That's interesting. You know, it's like it's beyond composition at that point.
Mhm.
It's like you're selling. I don't know. You're
The
always
right to recreate,
You're
Yeah.
you're
because
selling a style.
If you're gonna get in trouble, sorry, for bouncing out the audio of that project file, why wouldn't you get in trouble for the project file itself? Like
Exactly.
that just seems so backwards.
That's why I was questioning myself. Like, if you sell it that way, it's royalty free, right? I mean, it probably is. I don't know if it like is. I didn't really look into that. But if the project file is royalty free, and you buy the project file, it's like absolutely legit to render the audio out and sell it as your song, right? Because it's royalty free. So I can sell the cover version from Cymatics or whatever company, I don't care, of a tune that is already being sold on iTunes and be like, that's my song. I have all rights to sell it.
I didn't even think of that. Like I didn't take it that far of just being like export.
So like, can everybody be like export sell? Because that's actually allowed, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's royalty free.
I mean, if the thing is
This is the thing
they're-
I'll touch on right now is that how many gray areas legally.
yeah,
there are.
it's brutal. And electronic music, the labels haven't figured out how to specifically monetize cover versions and stuff like that with electronic music. Remixes are pretty common, and there, you know, you obviously get a cut, and that's determined between you and the record label and the distributor and whatever. But this whole sample pack project file thing is so new. Like when I started making bass music, same with Andrew, same with, you know, I don't know about you guys, but there was nothing, absolutely nothing. We had to open up a DAW and like trial and error forever. Like no YouTube tutorials, no nothing. Skrillex didn't even exist yet, so. Like,
So what could we go off of?
Yeah, so
There
now-
was one Rusco video.
and everyone saw that one was going.
I'm like this.
That
And
video
went
is
to
the
the
best.
library and got computer music magazines and like ripped the DVD files from the computer music magazines and then gave them back. That's what I did.
Yep.
Like I got awesome retro one from that. But like,
Winged it, dude. That's where all those cool secrets came from.
yeah, and like dubstep forum and stuff like that. Like that's all we had. And now you're making IPs extremely available, and not just the IP itself, but the like creation of it, like the whole Gary's mod or the whole like StarCraft map maker. Like you're like giving them everything that you've made, and you can't sell that. You can't claim that's yours. Like that's not cool at all. And like it's illegal too in a lot of industries, but not in this one for some reason. It just hasn't been like really hashed out.
Because I feel like part of it is that electronic music, like, I think internationally on like a global scale isn't something that has been taken very seriously until the last maybe couple of years. And so now there's all these like entertainment lawyers and stuff hopping on where they're like, wait a minute. Okay, so you're saying if we make a tune, remake a tune, change one note, then we can sell that to a commercial for
hell yeah.
thousands of dollars?
That's what Spinning Records
do
has
it.
been doing forever. That's why there's only a sole few producers that literally produce it. I used to work at Cryate nightclub in Los Angeles as a bouncer for 3 years. I was front door operations there, and I used to watch and listen for all the same produce. Like it's like the same studio. You can hear the same synths, the same presets, and everything. And it's like in that they've monopolized on it, and they throw these cheerleaders at you that are up there playing these other people's music. So it's like in the dubstep scene, unfortunately, and things like this, in my opinion, it's a lot more. It's not as frowned upon because in like that scene, the EDM scene, people aren't really there to quote unquote like dance and escape. It's more or less to bottle service and to be there more or less. at shows like your gentlemen's and everyone else's in our scene, it's like people are more or less there for like to get the music, yeah, to escape in some way, you know. So there is a lot of, I feel like, more passion is aware in this sense. So the gray area also comes from this non-monopolizing of this. Like, well, it's starting to happen with things like cymatics and stuff like that. The monopoly has become upon us, you know, in this way with producing, because now everyone wants a shortcut there. No one wants to spend like 3 years in their room and go nuts figuring out how the fuck do I do this, you know. It's like, so yeah.
It's definitely easier to access things now that can potentially.
I have a question
make
for you guys. Do you think the cymatics pack that everybody's talking about is much different than a guitar amp emulator that you turn it and it says like Jimmy Page, and then you turn it again and it says like other guitarists that I don't know? What do you compare contrast?
I haven't even.
Well, I
heard
gotta
it,
sit
so-
on that.
to go with like the guitar thingy you're talking about. I don't know what it's called. Okay.
Amp
Right.
emulator thing.
Amp
Like when you go into Guitar Center and you pick up a guitar and you're like, it's like, I've seen that. Like you can click the different settings. They're all on these.
Mhm.
amps.
There's still a dude playing a guitar. So like you're already a man that has to create, or a woman that has to create a melody, a loop that can drive that melody or pattern or rhythm to create something that could potentially be a tune. With samples, it's more like Lego. You like if you want to be a dick, you can just stack everything they put in the
and make
sample
a dick
pack.
out of it.
Yeah.
Make a Lego dick.
And it's like, I don't know.
It's illegal to copy Legos too. Those things are copyrighted to like crazy.
Yep.
Those sets.
I'm trying to say, hashtag don't copy Legos.
Yeah, geez. It's
Use
2016.
Use Lego as an example. Sample pack companies use Lego, a great company like Lego, as an example of that.
So I got a bunch of things I've been writing down. What makes a sample good or bad? And kind of what I was thinking is like, okay, so a lot of people will say you can sample anything, and then when you use it, you have to manipulate it somehow. I think like copyright law, to use somebody else's work in your art, don't you have to make it like unrecognizable? Is that what the phrase
the
is?
legal term. Yeah, that's
Except I think that doesn't apply with like vocal stuff.
What do you
It's
mean?
like, okay.
Like vocal samples or like acapellas.
Well, so
You're
the other
allowed-
thing that
you're
gets
allowed a certain amount of it.
the other thing that gets thrown around a lot is if you use under 3 seconds, you're fine. And I'm not sure if that's even actual law.
I think it's a thing.
Is
you
it
know?
I think it's 6
think.
seconds.
Definitely a thing. That's
Si-
what I tell people anyway.
6
That
seconds?
I mean, that would make sense because I always think about, I don't know if you guys were, I don't mean to jump in on this, but I think in sampling, the French Bloghouse days back in like 2006, when Ed Banger was really over here, you had people
Jack
like
Beats.
Sebastian, well, way before that.
Before.
You had people like Sebastian, Jackson and his computer band, and Justice, who were some of the I've never heard more samples in just one song. If you guys ever have time, there's a song by Sebastian called Ross Ross Ross, but it's called Ross Ross Ross, and there are over 200 samples in that apparently of him. It's like the whole tune's like, and in just that, there's nice rendition, yeah. But it's that
That was
kind
good. Can I sample that?
yeah, it's like 20 samples in just 8 seconds of a loop of his, and that blows my mind because that would make sense there about the second rule because he talked about it in a few interviews. I obsessed with Sebastian. He's one of the driving forces behind even Justice's production, but like he would literally talk about how fast and how many he could use sometimes. Like go buy 50 records from the shop and use all 50 records, but like 30 seconds of each. A kick from one.
That's sweet.
You know this. So yeah, that always plays. Like that would make a lot of sense correlating to that what you said because I've never heard that about samples, but that's probably like almost a game in the end for him. You know, it's like how many can I use before I actually have to like somebody actually knows what the song is because like hell you'll be able to tell every sample that's in a song like that. You know.
That leads me.
Here's a question.
Oh, I got something. What do you got?
So me personally, I came from a background of DJing before I started producing. So my question is, do you think that people that come from a DJing background might have a completely different mentality or approach to producing. So in that kind of subconscious aspect, it's almost like a different mentality about using samples to create music.
It's like a showcase for them almost, instead of like actually like that, you know, like with DJs. Yeah,
Just something to think about. Not that, because
Feel
like
that
me
now.
personally, I don't like, I'm not big on samples. I'll use a kick sample. That's it. You know, and like a snare.
Well, so that's what actually really nicely ties into what I was going to say. In the chat, Electron Hammer's trying to call me out. He said, I feel like you should have done some research on copyright law before this discussion. Well, I did 5 years ago. But what I'm more interested in actually us talking about is like the scene politics and like how it plays out in different genres, because we kind of mentioned, I think it's a little bit genre based. And you're saying, you know, if you came up as a DJ, you're actually saying, I thought you were going to say you're more used to samples, but you're saying you use them less. That's what you're saying?
Well, I'm a outlier. I'm just saying in general, I feel like DJs would probably be more okay with using samples.
He's saying as an example, because to where like him, I've been DJing about 11 years now. I was doing house parties and stuff like that. Like I was a DJ long before I started producing, and I feel like that also correlates to a lot to the way I listen to my samples. And it's the way I structure my music is because of my DJing. I listen to songs in terms of like how I feel they would flow that way in my mind. So like in terms of sampling, that totally comes into play with me. Like I always think about that. Like it's like how I was almost.
Plus, as a DJ, you hear overused samples much more frequently.
Oh yeah. Well, as a producer, you just get that ear. But what I was kind of thinking is like, so we're all dubstep producers. We've made other kinds of music as well. So for our genre, our pride, I feel like a lot of times as producers and songwriters actually comes from sound design. So
Absolutely.
if someone in our genre uses somebody else's drums, maybe even somebody else's melody, somebody else's effects, a vocal sample, but creates their own bass sound, but creates their own bass sound, we're like, okay, cool. But if someone uses like, you know, all those samples, or maybe they got their own drum set or something, but then we hear somebody else's bass sound in their tune, we're just gonna be like flaming this person on Facebook, like this is the worst thing you've ever done. And I feel like because that's what separates us as artists in this genre. It's very genre specific. Like that's how you can pick the different artists. It's not really our composition. Sometimes it is, you know, that's a little bit, but it's like that person sounds like that. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah. I definitely agree,
That's
especially in the
dubstep.
kind of dubstep. Yeah, I mean,
It's
100%.
dubstep things.
like
Yeah, it's definitely dubstep. Like,
Hashtag just dubstep things.
I feel it's like
I
especially
feel
like that. Sorry.
I feel like the artists that do the best are just original. Like anyone who's doing like big in dubstep, all have their own original sound, and you just get a load of people trying to sound like them, and that they get hated. Like 4 people trying to sound like them. What is going on that plug? What is that?
phone
It's
charger.
unsafe, dude.
All right.
Don't worry,
Outside,
man. Don't worry about it,
I'm
fam.
rude,
Just
dude.
like siphoning electric from next door or something.
We're not. This isn't even our house.
Yeah, we're in someone's
We jumped
backyard.
someone's fence and found out their
Just in someone's garden, just randomly. I forgot what I was
Yeah,
saying.
didn't have a
so-
Wi-Fi
This
password.
is the last thing they would think that you were doing is streaming and talking about sample packs on the dubstep.
I'm just
You're
sampling this
sampling their
backyard real quick.
Well, I actually
found
feel
it
like
right
I kind of agree with that. Like especially on like these super bass sound heavy tunes. Like I mean like rhythm. When you're on rhythm, like the intro, just like, nobody cares about the intro. Like really, like I don't even think like anybody who listens to the intro in rhythm. Like everybody, it's just 30 seconds, and then it's like build up, and then there's a drop, and then they decided the sample is like this. The sample, well, it's a sample when it's rendered out, but if the sound is cool or not. Like I don't think like anybody's like, oh yeah, I love the intro of this rhythm tune, but the bass is not so good. But I still love the song because of the intro.
In a rhythm tune,
Like,
yeah.
not in the rhythm, because in the rhythm tune it's like. Sorry.
No, sorry. Continue your thought.
No, like I mean they're like melody heavier and melody not so heavy dubstep tunes, right? So like some tunes, I feel like it deprives like a lot to rhythm, but like it's in any kind of dubstep tune, like how many melody is there and whatever. Like some dubstep tunes are like 3 minutes of melody and stuff, and then there's a small drop, and then it's a dubstep tune. And I feel like in that kind of tune, it doesn't really matter if that drop is like generic or not, because it's more like there's an element of what it is. It's like compared
It's like a
to
piece
metal
in
tune.
set.
Yeah, it's like
I think-
it's there just to be there,
Yeah.
but
I think
it's more like
rhythm
we want
intros are
dubstep.
getting longer and longer, and like it's like the intro is like an actual song now instead, because you've just got like 808s, you got sub bass.
Are you talking about Subject
Melodies.
31 tunes? Hold on, I got an air horn.
Yes, the intro is a song in itself now with rhythm.
Do you guys?
Definitely.
Do you think that means it's audience specific too? So it's audience expectations.
I feel like people used to make like dubstep tunes. They used to have really simple intros. You used to have a hi-hat and a bit of atmosphere because like you wanted it played out. It was all for the DJ. But now
Yeah.
I think intros are getting more and more complicated. So
Yeah,
So I love
yeah.
DJing deep dubstep. So easy, so nice. Everything just flows so well.
Layers so
Yeah.
nicely.
Yeah, you can do quad drop of any of any tracks in F and deep dubstep, and it'll sound great. Unless they're in triplets, or one's in triplets and one's not. But yeah,
Well,
you don't even have to rehearse it. It's just play.
Yeah, I was listening
This
to.
doesn't take away from it. I still love it, but just the same. But it is easier to mix for sure.
I did some research on video game music artists. So do you guys know the Game Chops crew? It's like so they do like so the game Undertale came out and the Game Chops guys will make like a tribute album of cover songs and stuff like that. And so I was listening to these songs that are they're big, they're popular in that scene. The songwriting is super cool and the melodies are insane. The basses make me want to just stop. They're bad, okay? I don't know how else to say they're bad. The basses a lot of times are like the most uninspired basses I've ever heard. But I feel like in that genre, sampling the basses is okay. Like they're music composition and songwriter people who are trying to make aggressive electronic music. And so for them, and I know a lot of people like this actually, who hate the sound design part of electronic music, they love the composition. And so I think Cryate was talking about this before where you were saying it saves you some time on maybe even like the part you're not good at. So like those people will you know find their presets, tweak them, they're like for their melodies, write this really intricate, awesome song, and then their bass sounds are just super sampled. So it's I think it's really genre specific, and I think you have to kind of consider the audience expectations in the genre you're in. You know, like if I tomorrow put up a song using somebody else's bass, or if I use like a drop, I don't know. If I use something really Beatport Top 10-y, I guess, I'm gonna lose a lot of fans because I think that's not what they show up to my SoundCloud for. Whereas other people, I don't think are gonna hate that at all. I think that's a big part of it.
Can you do me a VIP of that infrasound song?
What do you want it to say?
I don't know, just like Suspect or saying. I need it for my mix.
Suspect
This
sound.
is a random thing. But I've been listening to that tune every day. Like it's just stuck
Thank you.
ingrained in my brain.
That's
I
awesome.
don't know why that song just sticks.
That's
in
my
head.
vocal. That was me not. You know
Was
why
it?
I don't sample a lot of times? Because I'm too lazy to go find a sample that fits. I end up learning how to bend my voice. Does everybody know the song? You probably don't know. The song Crazy Hand. I'm going to say it. This is the first time I've publicly said
I
it.
remember Crazy Hand, yeah.
Crazy Hand. That's me singing. Go back and listen to it. That is me singing. So
amazing.
You're gonna have to like. You have to sue yourself. Sample yourself.
people are like, why didn't you credit the singer? Who's the singer? It's like, because it's me singing like a girl.
Just do Nostalgia featuring Andrew Hill.
Grimbley versus Hecka.
That's what I'm doing,
Yeah,
actually.
Grimbley versus Hector set.
Yo, I totally feel that, man. I like me and Sudden Death have recently partnered up like with this past year, and our main goal lately, especially in a lot of our newest tunes, have been to just sample ourselves whether it's singing, us talking, anything at all. We have a collab. It's me, Yax, and Sudden Death, where the entire intro is Danny processing us just going into the mic, and the intro's wicked. With like layers and layers of like processing and stuff like that. It's this fucking insanely ominously dark intro, and like throughout the whole song, it's like us yelling into the mic or like screaming or like saying
That's awesome.
profanity to each other.
I think that's the best type of samples, like the outtakes.
Totally. And you know what? Shouts to Neonix, especially who's in the chat right now. That man, literally, I'd say about 80% of the basses in all of his new music, and not all, are him yelling and shouting into the mic. And it's unreal. It's awesome. Unreal. It's beautiful. It is fucking. Shouts to my son.
What is that, dude?
Yo, nice nips, dude. Nice nips.
Adam's photo.
Thanks, man.
Really me off.
What up, dude?
Shouts to
Hello.
Digitus is in the
Wait, where is the chat?
There he is.
Twitch.tv/Redline.
Hey.
I taught you that.
Yo,
In the building.
hold on, I gotta get the ham horn up for Neonix.
Ham.
It's bad.
Trap it out.
So we're talking about samples and if they're cool or not, when they're cool, how much. So here's a question. I wrote this down. It's a little devil's advocate-y. Agree or disagree? When you start producing, you should use a ton of samples, and then when you're really awesome, like Noisia, you shouldn't use any samples. Go suspect. Unless you want to pass.
I don't agree with No, I think if you use a sample pack, even when like one's free and given out, I tend to like only pick like 1 or 2 samples out of it, and then I try and find another new sample pack and take 1 or 2 out of that. I don't want to take everything from the same sample pack because everyone's gonna recognize where it's from. I don't even like to do that when it's free. But yeah, starting out, I don't think it really matters. But when you start getting big and making money, you should have your own sound ready. That's my thoughts.
Let's say too that every time we say making money, evaluate value on a bunch of different levels too. Like, I guess, making money like playing shows, but either making money or you have a big following and influence, I think can go hand in
both
hand.
really. I feel like you're taking away from the artist you're sampling or stealing from, really. If you're getting the credit and they're not.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that, Keith?
I don't know. I feel the same way. I think that it's I don't have anything to add.
It's just kind of weird that, like, so I want. Does somebody disagree? Like, I feel like there's something we're missing when we say that, when you're starting off, you can use samples, and when you're big, you can't. It's like, what's the rule that we're like judging by?
More people are gonna be eyes on you, right? So if you fuck up, then you're kind of screwed. People are gonna. The EDM mob will be after you. All the bedroom producers will be upset.
It's being credible as well. It's if you want a long career or a short career.
Yeah, like people. Also, there's like producers, right? And if you're a producer that's not only well known but also respected amongst people who produce, and you like Noisia, for example, or people that just are looked up to in both respects. I think that's gonna keep your career going way longer. And part of that is being original, keeping an original sound. I think that Eptic is another example of that. Someone that has a really original sound and quite a big following. And if he started doing really generic sample-y stuff out of nowhere, then people would notice and it would get upset. But that's just not in the light of those kinds of artists.
It's interesting. I'm thinking about it here. So when a band goes into the studio, they buy guitars other people made and they tune them up and they kind of tweak their sound a little bit, but it's their composition they're judged by. It almost seems like, at least in the electronic music we're a part of, where sound design is very much part of the artist. It's what you appreciate about them. We can't get away with that. We have to first invent the guitar and then write our music with it. Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah,
That's what I was trying to say earlier.
I feel like that goes like but that depends on how complex the tune itself is composition wise. I guess if you have like Thomas Ferguson, for example, is like an orchestral composer, and if he does a track and that's like super complex and sick orchestra and all that kind of stuff, and then there's a dubstep or electronic part that is like super generic, nobody will be like, oh well, I heard that bass before. That song sucks. Because everybody is like about the whole thing. And if you're like just about the drop and it's like a tune that has like a hi-hat in the intro and then a drop and then a hi-hat in the mid-show and then a drop, and the drop is like 2 sounds and very rhythmish and repetitive, what is not a bad thing. But if the sample then is like, I don't know, a square wave with a low pass filter, that might be a little, and you even sample that, everybody's like, well, that's a little generic maybe.
Yeah.
But if it's like, I mean, if it's like super complex and the whole intro is like a song for itself and it could live without the drop actually, you just put the drop in because you feel like it has to have a climax, and then you sample a little, that's pretty fine, I guess. Like, that's what I feel is fine.
Do any trance producers make their own sounds?
They used to.
They used to make like arpeggiator, like their own arps with lots of reverb on them, and then just layer a shit ton of them.
But you say used to, so like now they just download preset packs.
Nexus is out. Nexus is like the trance producer's wet dream, dude.
So,
It seriously is. It makes it so easy. But then in a genre that's been around for ages, like trance, at least in the public eye, you have so much more of a bubble to break out to be original, and that just happens with genres over time. Like, you remember when trap first came out, it was really easy to make something pretty sweet because it was so new, and you could just throw big 808s over something, like, and at least and now to be a good trap producer, you have to know some serious sound design. Like the dudes that are killing it in trap are really killing it. Dudes like Hero Bust and many others.
I feel like a lot of people are putting simps over the top of like 808s now, so it's half and half. I feel like that works pretty well. I think like Tramper did one song.
Yeah, that's super interesting to me what you're talking about, because it kind of implies that in order to be noticed and to break out, you have to sound original. And the best way to sound original is to not use straight samples. And I should clarify too, this is kind of confusing for somebody who doesn't write music for us to talk about, because we can use samples in a bunch of ways, that word. Even like when I go in to write a song, and if I write something that you think sounds super original, super unique, no one's ever heard it before, I'm using samples, but we're manipulating them. So I don't think anybody here is going to say that using samples other people made but manipulating them beyond recognition is bad. Is anybody going to say?
It's like food. You're using vegetables that other people have grown, but you're making your own recipe.
It's a fruit.
Making your own recipe.
Well, that's
a mango.
That's a little bit
That's like subliminal. I didn't even see the mango.
Can't believe you've done this.
But if you now say like the vegetables are the samples, and you throw all the vegetables together, like all the samples together, and make your own recipe, that's like a song made of samples. So
It's a cymatics mango.
basically,
The cymatics mango.
Cymango.
I hate when drummers don't make their own drums. That's what Funk Mod said. LOL.
There's always a food analogy somewhere.
You should be skinning your own sheep before you can play drums.
Yeah.
It's like that meme that's like, I used to use samples, but then I started making my own drums, but then I started growing my own cattle to skin to make my own.
Yeah, exactly.
And now I'm just on a farm with a bunch of cows.
You guys like Mode Selector? They made their own DAW before they started making music.
Nuts.
Did they strip their PC before?
That's
like
insane to me too.
Built the PC.
As a producer,
That's nutty.
they designed their own DAW, and the program that they use is solely for them. Otto von Schirach has used it. He's a Miami-based music guy, vocalist. But I was thinking about that a lot because I use Ableton. I've been on Ableton since 7. So I was using it for like DJ mixes and shit like. I think about that. I'm like, somebody made Ableton. I'm using somebody made like like a guitar. Like it's like a Gibson guitar. It's an Ableton guitar.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You can draw some parallels.
Yeah. Something to think about. Because then I sometimes feel like I'm an Ableton artist in a weird way.
I still think I'm still one of those people that thinks they can hear DAWs in people's songs, which a lot of us can if it's a new producer, because you're like, oh, I remember that trick. That was fun to use when I started. But
You have to disguise your DAW.
yeah,
Definitely.
Ableton.
Yeah.
Every time I hear
Takes time.
someone do the do 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 or do 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 like step arpeggiated chop, I think where it pitches up and down. I'm like, oh, it's Ableton.
I don't even know how that works.
The messiest fruit ever.
Fuck.
It's
I think who was it? Rob from Dodge and Fuss. He did an experiment. Sorry about the ambulance.
No.
1 second.
Coming to get your sample. It's the sample, please.
Yeah, it's just,
And that.
he
Oh,
did
shit.
a
Go.
he did an experiment where he had a finished track and he exported it in Ableton through Ableton's algorithm, and then he exported the same one in Logic. So the same wave produced in Bitwig, exported in Ableton, and then one exported in Logic. And he reversed the phase of one and put them together exactly the same. So technically, they should be the same, wave-wise, but even me, like Andrew, I'm with you, like on the hearing DAWs thing. Like I still feel like when I hear that a little bit of metallic, sort of high MIDI attenuation, I think like maybe they're in Ableton, like maybe, and then when it's really low, chunky, you can hear just brutal transients in the low end, like you can't hear in any other drum. Like maybe it's in Logic. Like and those are things that I look for, but I'm obviously probably wrong. Like, but I like to think that I'm right.
That might be like plugin dependent, like on about the inbuilt plugins, right? So they're
Yeah.
different. So and if you're an Ableton, you probably use the Ableton reverb, maybe.
That's one, yeah, that's one. Like tape delay and Logic, you can hear like easily, like that, and those are definitely giveaways. But I'm talking more about like the timbre of like the whole track, or like
but the timbre is maybe given partially by the plugins used on it. So
I can tell when
feel
people
like-
use Reason. You can probably tell your own DAW more than others.
yeah.
I think it's all path of least resistance things. You know, it's little like the parts that are easy about your DAW are probably what people can hear
The
the
little
most.
techniques, yeah.
Yeah.
Besides,
If
DAWs,
it's
I
rhythm,
feel
it's
like
produced in
easier.
Reason.
Oh.
Reason or Fruity Loops.
Ouch.
Yeah, if it's rhythm, it's produced in Reason or Fruity Loops.
That's because
Adam,
we're
do you still use
I'm
Reason?
not gonna argue that too much, but
Just
it's hilarious.
Do I still
feel
use
like
Reason?
It's easier for me to
Yeah.
What's up? No, not anymore. We actually just moved into Ableton, I think 2 years ago. We were in FL.
Oh, right.
But yeah, I haven't really used it since 5, I think. Back in like 2000, when was that? 2012?
I've still got a Reason file you sent me, actually.
Oh man.
Reason.
I
I was
Yeah.
trying to learn Reason. It was
All
pretty
these years
terrible.
later.
Are you gonna play it?
I'm too lazy to leave, so I'm stuck in Reason.
I have another question that'll keep us on topic. Hey. How are you? No. Okay. I'm just going through what I wrote down earlier. And yeah, hit us with questions in the chat, by the way. I see a little bit, I've been watching a little bit what's going on there, but let us know. So I sample drums. I sample effects. And that's probably it. I don't feel like making my risers and fallers a lot, even though I have one that I'm waiting for someone to call me out on that too. I have one riser I've been using since I started in like 2009, and it's in almost every single song. So
Megalodon does too.
It's all we're
Is
going to
the
be able to hear
white
now.
riser?
You're gonna hear it. It's gonna ruin all of my music now.
When you point something out, you just ruined it. Your whole catalog's gone.
But what I was gonna say is when you're clicking through sample packs, I've never used a melody. Like, has anybody used a melody? I guess maybe I've used like an ARP maybe once. I don't know.
I think once out of like some sort of trap.
I thought about this. I didn't mean to jump in on this, but if you go through the special sounds, I think it's Vengeance 2 or 3 in the club sounds or something. In the special sounds folder, there's one that what is it? Chasing Shadows or Chasing Status Suits. It's like din, 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 din.
Oh
It's like
yeah.
They made an entire remix out of that where that's the melody, you know. And when I heard that, that was like, well, I think the first time I had opened a Vengeance pack, and I was like, whoa. And I listened to their kind of interpretation from there. Really blew my mind because Chrome Star did an album. What was it called? Healing with Time or something like that. It was a really deep album he put out. There's an entire, not melody, but the entire tune, like a pad melody that literally is the entire tune. Like you can find it also in another special sounds folder, and it almost forever traces my memory back to that, you know. So it's like it's almost for me like a Bravo sense if you can use something like that, you know, and really have it define the song.
It makes me think. So that reminded me of. Did you know that one, Benny? It's Benny Benassi. Man, it's been so long.
Satisfaction.
Whatever. What's the one that goes down? Down, 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 down.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
And they didn't.
That's
Vengeance didn't sample him, right? He just used that sample, from my understanding.
Miles Dice also had the same thing happen to him too. That he did the same thing, I think, or I think they vice versa that, like where they took the sample for the song. Because that always made me wonder too. Like I'll listen through Vengeance and I'll be like, was this made prior or before? Like, did they cut that
I
from
think
his?
they've just
You know what I mean?
used it.
I think they just
Yeah,
used it, and it got to #1 on Beatport. That tune, and it's literally an unprocessed bass sample from Vengeance.
Are you talking about Steve Angelo Mass?
No,
Yeah.
I don't
I
think
think
I
you're
am.
talking about Steve Angelo. Here, I'll send you the link. I think that's this.
Oh, am I doing the wrong one?
No,
Wow.
I know what you're talking about. I definitely
Yeah,
know
it's
the
that
melody.
song. Yeah.
Sounds a bit like
Listening.
Ziggler Banks as well. I'm lost.
Listening. The stream might be listening. Yeah, this song.
It's still good though. Get some moving.
He took that from Vengeance.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that?
I believe
Yeah.
he's done.
Doesn't that blow your mind? So I feel like what's wrong with that for me, even though it was obviously successful, he did well with it, is that your audience is expecting a certain amount of authenticity. And when you steal, if they found out it was like, oh, I put drums behind this sample, they wouldn't be like, sweet, that song, you know, it would lose value, I guess. I don't know. I mean, he probably
Maybe
paid
the-
for the pack, but
Maybe to like producers, but I feel fair play to him. You know, he got there first. In my
It's
opinion,
rights,
I think.
it's rights free. It's there. That's
Exactly.
sad
He
part.
bought the pack.
yeah, actually,
Same with
Right there.
Status thing. They probably heard it from the pack, and like I said, the way they used it, it was the way they got to it first, and the way they were able to kind of coin it as a sound.
got to it first is just not enough for me.
I'd like to
No,
jump in on that one.
As a producer, yeah, it hurts, but I mean, he's
could've
right. Like he
skipped
didn't do
that and
anything.
Not heard anything. Yeah.
After a
Fair
while,
play
you just
to them.
become
They
jaded.
did it well.
It's waiting for someone to just
Well,
be
I
like,
think
I'm just
that's
jaded.
No, not
feel
you.
that with-
Just producers in general.
Oh, no,
You know, you
yeah, I
have this
agree.
high threshold of what you need to create to stand out, and you just figure out other people are just like using sample pack, like Virtual Riot. So many people are blowing up from those sample packs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I won't say any names because that's
And you're like, what am I doing here?
taboo. But
Trying to be cool and original.
Taking so
Yeah.
long. Oh, actually, what I wanted to say is like about samples and all this. What are you allowed to use when you are unique or whatever? Like I watched this Nightmare, whatever thing where he's like talking in front of a class, and he was talking about like his song called Street, I guess. Yeah, Street, like the one that really blew up.
hmm
It got this lead, like it's a trap song. It got this lead that sounds like a pan that is like grain delayed. It goes like blah 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 stuff.
Mhm.
Anybody knows what I'm talking about? Please.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Can I just was like, oh, sounds so stupid.
that song's like really, really big.
Dude, everybody's like,
Yeah,
fuck.
I'm pretty sure everybody knows that. So you're good.
Oh yeah, exactly. And then he was talking about his snares, how he like layers like 3 different snares to like which are basically all samples. And he actually has like in his sample library, he uses Ableton. He has a folder called Nightmare, where he just like gathers the samples he liked the most and uses the most, and be like, I just make these samples my own, and make everybody recognize me from using exactly these samples on all my tracks. Like his sub, like his 808 is the Vengeance Trap Essential Volume 1 tuned kick number 1. Like, it's the first 808 from the whole Vengeance pack. From the first Vengeance pack, and that's what he uses in like most of his songs, and it just sounds good. And I feel like maybe producers might care about, oh yeah, he layered two snares that he didn't make it by himself, and now he's like known for his little spooky snares, or for his 808, and he didn't make that.
I think yeah, producers will care more than the average listener.
Yeah, but I
does
I
not
don't
care.
even care. Like, I'm like doing music all day, and I really don't care because I like the tune and I like this one lead that he made by himself from a pan with the granulate. Or like, I mean, if he even didn't make it, I'd still like this tune because the way he arranged it, I really love it. Like, I really enjoy listening to it. And when I turn it on in my car, I feel like, oh yeah, this hits. And I'm not like, this is a sample. And like you hear music for the sake of hearing music, not about like, I want to analyze that right now. I feel like that's not the way you should listen to music, like, or how complex the bass sound is, but it still doesn't sound.
I think as soon as you become a producer, you start like dissecting tunes and analyze everything, and in a way, you start to ruin things because you're listening out for the hi hat or listening out for this and that, and it sort of like ruins music for you. In
I think that's every career.
Yeah. Well, producing has ruined electronic
Yeah.
music for me. I mean, that's the way it is. There's no magic behind it. It's all science now. It's all like, how did they do that? Well, I can think of so many things. But when I was first listening to electronic music, I couldn't believe it. I was like, these guys are gods. How do they make these sounds and these scapes? And like, how do you do that? Like, so, but that's part of it. That's just knowing your craft. Like, you know, a master glassblower is going to be like, yeah, this is how you do everything. But when I watch that dude make that horse on YouTube, I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, you know?
Well, I've done it before though, where you hear like a song blow up, and then if you produce music, you're like, well, all they did was, I know how they made that tune. I can like picture it. They just did this, this, and this. And then someone said to me, well, you didn't think of it, and neither did I. So fair play to him. It doesn't matter how simple the thing is. If you can make something out of nothing, then fair play to that person in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Yeah.
And that's full circle with using samples, in my opinion.
Yeah. Also, I think mixes too are really important. Like, producers also really like the reason why producers would like Nightmare, I think, is because his mixes are just so clean and so good and so snappy, and like that's another thing that that validates him as a producer. Like, sure, you know, he's using those really available samples, but the way he's fitting them together and the way that he's, you know, sculpting the whole thing, there's tons of finesse involved in that. That's tough to pull off, you know, at that level.
Well, I absolutely agree on, and I feel like that's like starting to be missing or coming back again in the whole electronic music scene. Like, everybody is like, oh yeah, you have to be super unique on the one sound you use in the drop or the two sounds, and the rest doesn't even matter. Like, it doesn't even matter if you like if the sound is on point or if the sub is layered well. Or, I mean, it still matters to most people, but there's like a common sense that the main part is the one bass sound design or the two or three you use. And everything else doesn't matter. Like, I mean, Nightmare does like sick intros and everything like that, and the whole song structure is very well done, and it all like pulls you toward this one drop, and then the drop hits. And even if it's basic, like even if you only had the sub and the sine wave plug above it, it would be cool, and it's like super basic, but it still would be nice because I don't know, the composition is like pretty key, and I feel like it's absolutely fine to use like samples or whatever, or even bass samples if the composition is on point. I mean, it's like the way you use it, right?
I think bass samples, it depends on the genre, but in dubstep, I think that's just it's always been frowned upon. I think
definitely
that,
depending on the sort of dubstep, yeah. Like,
but
it's, you know,
everything else I think is pretty fair game.
I think like the synth bass is like the main component of dubstep, so I really don't think you should sample someone's bass in any situation, like in dubstep, really, because you've got to come up. That's your signature sound, is your bass sound, really, because like the drums and everything, people just use them from packs, layer them up in different ways to disguise them. But your bass sounds is what makes your whole sound, isn't it? So
Totally. Like, I thought about this for a moment with bass sounds and stuff like that. for my Russians out there, hopefully I'm not like calling this anything wrong, but I used to listen to this with a buddy of mine. It's like this Russian hard dance, hard style thing. Kind of, it's hard style driven. It's just they all basically share the same patches. Like it's not taboo. It's the standard. Like you have to use that sound, and it is someone or maybe two perfected it. But if you go through in what I've kind of gathered from it, you go through this genre, and they all are using the same patch, and it's like the all hyphy Russian MC, you know, like it's like the same bass over and boom 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 boom, like over and over, and they do these different ways, man. And I was almost reminded of Rhythm in a sense, except with the not as accepting part of everybody using the basses, because it's like it almost seems like they're all cool with all their homies just going and playing these raves so that their other homies can dance and like just be, I don't know. Like I thought
cool.
about that. You know,
I think if you're sharing patches, if you're like trading patches or something, then and everyone's got consent, that's fine. But
hell, they're probably all using the same drums too, because I was going through a playlist of it on YouTube from about like 2007. There's like 100 something different artists with DJ this, DJ that, and they all pretty much are using the same kind of sounds. And to me, I've gathered that scene is just, that's the standard, you know? And I almost think about that with trance too in a weird way nowadays. Like there's probably studios that you go to meet with engineers, you know, because we're not as affiliated with the trance scene and all the different ones where that's the case, where, you know, this person, you get your idea to that, they help you get it from there. And I've met a few people like that, even at the club I used to work at being a bouncer there. And a lot of, I had a buddy of mine who was big in the Russian trance scene, and he was like a local DJ from out in Ukraine, and would talk to me about that, about how he's like, I've been to the studios and I've seen the sets that these guys use and this guy's use in this famous studio. And I'm like, whoa, really? There's like famous studios in Russia where like everybody goes to use this kind of sound or keyboard? That's crazy to me. That blows my mind. But it's like, it's kind of like, yeah, they're cool with it as long as you know what you're doing in a sense with it, you know, and your execution of it, you know.
How cool would that be if like when I go back to Minneapolis, I make a studio and that studio becomes, it's like a genre. So when people are rolling through for shows, they get to come to that studio, and then what you make there is that genre. We're all using the same samples. That'd be super cool.
Yeah,
that would be cool. That's like how genres are birthed. That's like a cool,
I think so.
Story.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I
hate to play devil's advocate, but like there is the other end of, in my opinion, personally, like I've noticed there's a divergence in dubstep where, at least in the kind of stuff I'm more into now, where, you know, you got the heavy sounds and the bass design and stuff, but like people really go into their sound design to the point where if you hear their tunes at shows, you're like, oh, that's an Ulasile track. Oh, that's a sudden death tune, you know? And that's what kind of makes them more interesting to me as artists, is to hear what they can do with their own sounds that they've made. And then there's like kind of like the other end of dubstep, in my opinion. I don't know too much about it, but like the bro steppy stuff, I hear there's a lot of sounds that are very similar. And I feel like there's kind of the mentality of, I'm trying to master my sound and let the world know this is what it is. And then there's the mentality of, we need to make these sounds that are really appealing right now to people to kind of go along with that vibe of, this is what's really hot right now. And maybe neither of those mentalities is wrong, but me personally, like, I strive for the really, you know, advanced sound design synthesis. Like that's what I go for with my dubstep. When I hear an original sound, that's what really like gets me hyped up out of tune. So that's just my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people can kind of need to lay off a bit on other people's tastes, or at least try to look at it from other people's perspectives, because a lot of the people that I associate with too are very, you know, because it's like we all like this music, we all make this music, and then and a lot of us have similar ideals, and we're all sound design focused, and then all of a sudden we're going to try to apply that to other people in other genres when maybe that's not even their style or what they're trying to accomplish with their artistry, you know.
I think another fair point to bring up is that, like, I listen to a lot of other stuff. So if you listen to a lot of other genres and music and things, and then you go back to dubstep, certain things will sound very similar to you, or me personally. So I try to look for the weirder stuff that stands out as more unique in any genre.
Yeah, I feel like the whole bro step thing is, I mean, I don't know how to start it without like going to the wrong direction, but like
Oh, I feel you.
It's a
You don't want to come off as like a.
you don't want to be like, oh yeah, this is bad or disrespect anybody.
like, hey,
But
I
I feel like
Skrillex. I really
No,
like
he's
Skrillex.
talking about, like,
yeah, I like
I'm just
Skrillex
saying.
a lot. I also like actually like now I say it like I really like Zomboy.
Oh,
and,
I love him. I love him.
and yeah exactly like Zomboy is pretty dope. Like I mean his mix downs are super on point.
They're insane.
And
The songs are
Yeah,
really
they're
fucking loud.
ridiculous. Yeah, how he gets it so loud with still keeping that dynamic range is ridiculous.
Yeah, and I also love these sounds he's doing, even though they are pretty close to the "this is bro step" thing. To the what you said, like this is what's hot or whatever. But maybe it's not what's hot. Like what's maybe what makes it hot is that like a certain amount of famous producers do it. Like all this Terror
yeah.
Squad, who copied who thing is like. I mean, he might have been copying Skrillex, or he might have been copying Skrillex, and Skrillex adapted from that, and then it got closer to each other.
I mean, in retrospect, you can say that's how subgenres are made. You know,
Yeah,
people
exactly.
figure out
Uh,
sound they like, and that's how rhythm came about to be. That's how the bro
An
step
interpretation,
sound. Yeah.
therefore. Of
And there's nothing
influence,
wrong
yeah.
with that. There's probably people that specifically like those subgenres. There's probably people out there that only listen to bro step and don't like rhythm
know,
because
dude,
it doesn't have those.
So many
sounds.
rhythm kids that I've met and don't even know like the temper record stuff. They don't know about chest plate. They don't know about any of that old stuff. And that's not even that old. Like to think in that sense. And I know that it's like, yeah, I don't really like that slow reggae style stuff. They're like, I like the hard shit. Yo,
You
special
gotta know
cat.
the origins though.
Look at that cat. It looks like
Cat
he's wearing a
cameo.
mask.
It's cat cameo time.
Boost those
Every time.
views.
It's a gorgeous cat.
Oh, yeah, 500.
But yeah, what I wanted to say is, I feel like when somebody really likes the typical, like what I like typical, I guess that's a typical rhythm sound probably as well. But when somebody likes the Terror Squad bass sound really much, like if he really likes it, I feel like he's absolutely free to use it and to make tunes that have this sound. Like I feel like it shouldn't become in a way that people are forced to not use certain sounds because they are famous. Like if there's a sound from a famous tune, you shouldn't be like forced to not use it. I feel like that's like the wrong direction as well.
Yeah.
Like, using it just because it is famous, because like you're like, I want to get famous, so I use this sound and that will make me famous. That's a kind of bad approach, I guess, but being like, well, this squarified whatever sound is like pretty popular, so I'm not using it. Still, I love it. That's pretty stupid as well, I guess.
It comes down to what you want to do with your artistry. Because, like, I think you were kind of saying it too. You weren't hating on people. Like, I'm trying not to hate what people want to do. If someone's like, what I want to do with my life is be a really big DJ and tour the world. So I'm going to make that happen. You know, artistic integrity might not be their number one concern at that point.
That's true.
Whereas a lot of us, I think a lot of people need to be honest with themselves a little bit. If they're going to be super choosy about their sound and all this stuff and hate on everybody for everything, then they have to make sure they know what they're in for.
That's the death of a producer, dude. Once you start getting so cynical, like you'll just stop making music because you'll be like, oh, everything sucks, and then everything that in the genre, if you think everything sucks, then more than likely everything you make is gonna suck too. So like, it's really self-defeating, and a lot of producers have dropped out of the game completely because they've just gone so cynical about the genre of music that they produce. They're like,
Sad air horn.
Yeah. Even me, like, you
For
know,
the
I got really cynical about stuff, and I found that, you know, just even thinking like that made me appreciate the music less and made me less excited to make it. And you know, it's a bad byproduct. You gotta be always kind of, you know, giving it the benefit of the doubt instead of and just seeing it for what it is instead of just hating on it.
I feel like on the other end of that though, and I'm sure there's like a lot of other people that feel this way, like when I hear music, I don't like really give a flying hootenanny about what subgenre it is, but if I hear something I like, my initial response is, how do I make that sound? Let's go to the studio and try to duplicate that, you know? And half the time I be able to do that, and then the other half the time I completely ADD and veer off path and make something else that I'm excited about. But, you know, either way, I don't know. That's kind of like the mentality I have about anything I hear now.
I think
Yeah, I feel like that.
I think we ended up in a good place today, guys. We did it. You know, we started talking about samples. Actually, we started by just drinking some beer and having connection problems. And then we like talked about samples. And then there was like, and then there was like cat.
And then Adam came and graced us with his presence.
I just wanted to shout out Neonix if he's still in the chat. We did talk a little bit about cymatics and stuff.
I love you, Lee.
But we didn't. I don't know if we touched on the whole cymatics copying a certain artist topic. But you know, cymatics, that's something we covered.
Next.
We talked. I mentioned the getter thing. I mean, I'll say it.
How much are they selling the sample packs for?
I don't know.
Like
let's find out.
I think you can buy every single one of them for like $500. The project files, or like $300.
That's insane. That is so much.
Like
Jesus.
Ableton Projects Collection.
That's an entire paycheck.
I might start making patches for him. See if he'll like buy them.
That's Omnisphere right there.
That's Omnisphere.
$300 for like 30 projects, I guess. I mean, if you narrow it down, it's like $10 per project.
Ooh, yeah. So it's $247 for standard edition.
35 projects for 300.
Yeah, 30 projects for $297.
It's
what? Where's someone link me? Are these the actual?
They're making a lot of money, basically.
But I just found out the exact
Maybe this is a good time to mention. Redline Reload's gonna be coming out with a sample pack.
Yeah, dude.
We actually are.
$300.
It's gonna be
$250.
It's gonna be like $300,000. $300,000.
Yours for $4.
No, you should sell. And then included with that is the project file for the hero, right?
Yes.
Nice.
So quick, I didn't even realize it.
I wonder if that still charts on Beatport. Did you? Because Beatport sales are so dismal that song used to chart like a year after or 2 years after.
I don't get anything off of Beatport, man. I get everything off of Spotify now.
Yep.
Beatport's so dead for me.
Spotify. We need to talk. We need to have a musician business hangout.
I'm down.
That would be really good. And it'll just be all of us. We'll get like a 30-person call going. I'll get multiple computers and link them together. And it's just going to be a support group for trying to make money off of our music. Just be like, please, somebody.
Somebody buy one track, please.
I want to like get away from digital. So I want to do more physical releases, definitely. CDs,
I want vinyl so bad.
The next thing will be USB sticks.
Dude, yeah, I have the Cope and Durham LP.
Noisia do that, don't they?
So sick.
Noisia do USBs.
Oh yeah.
Bottles.
This
Like, yeah,
sexy little
exactly.
CD
Like, I have
right
this,
here.
like,
That's
I don't know
super
where I have
cool.
it.
That's
Because I'm
dope.
an idiot. Probably my car, but
Look at
that's so
the
cool.
quality.
Yeah, that's really nice, man.
Now he's like marketing shit.
What is that for?
That's for
I
Code
might
Pandora.
have tracks as well.
Oh, nice. That looks pretty dope.
Yeah. www.soundcloud.com/CodePandorum.
Yeah.
I know, sure, but
Yeah,
We're
we follow
marketing
each
here,
other on
right?
SoundCloud.
All right, we got
Redline
1 minute left. Anyone have any pressing announcements? I do want to say that we do this every Thursday. Next Thursday and the 2 Thursdays after is Demo Listen. You can send your tracks into www.redlinereload.com and we will judge you harshly.
Judge me.
So
The Iron
Judgment.
Fist.
yes.
I want to say
Judgment and love.
I want to say shout out to
Okay.
everyone that tuned in, and shout out to all the people out there. Confident enough to use samples like that.
To use
and such.
samples.
Just kind of keep in mind that, like, you know, I was gonna say in the end, I think a lot of the problem comes for is a lot of these producers just not acknowledging that they're artists too, or not even knowing that, not even doubting it. They're trying to be a certain sound. They're trying to be a certain something. Like, acknowledging where you've come from, finding out what music got you into music is the most important thing, I think, into developing your own sound, whether about you end up playing samples or not. So,
And don't do it by yourself.
do it with friends and make
Stick with those that started with you.
Release everything on Prime Audio.
People need to stop
Yes.
stressing so hard. It's fun.
I've got
tunes.
releases up to like October now.
Man, it's a community. It's not one dude making dubstep.
Yes, it is.
This is all
Because it is
sham.
on-
Can I just say I want people to send me drum and bass. Please just
Yeah, drum and bass
send me
tight as
loads of
fuck.
drum and bass. Loads.
You
I
can
wanna
get a
sign
release
that.
with me.
Loads of drum and bass.
Do it. I want to do a jump
Dude.
up EP on Prime.
Mm.
Do it.
About time.
USB style.
All right.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
That would
All
be
right.
pretty lit.
We
Big ass
should,
drum, just
We should hit the dusty trail now, guys.
Yeah, it was lit, fam.
Thank you. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you.
Hit me up on Thursdays.
Guys, thanks for having me, guys. I love you all.
Peace.